quite yet that requires a quorum, since we don't yet have one. But I think we should be able to run through a couple of the other things. If we get a quorum, we'll circle back on anything that needs a quorum. If not, then we'll just have a general discussion and move on from there. So starting with announcements and in open session and any public comments. David, that would be you.
None really noteworthy. I'm just kind of, Steve and I were just kind of had an interest, and we were curious about the meetings, but
Sure.
he's selling his boat, and some guy came into town so he couldn't make it here with us. So I'm just here to.
Oh, I saw some activity down at the Frying Pan.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw
It's
some
opening
activity
Thursday,
Yeah.
and the boat, the big flying fish, it's for sale. So that's a big deal.
So he's looking at one of the 2 happiest days in his life.
Right? Apparently, yeah. It's hectic though.
Yeah.
But no, I don't really have any comments. I was just curious as to, what's going on with the harbor.
Sure. So roll call as of now anyway, myself, Chris, Joe is on, Kevin is on, and Will is on. We'll have to forego approval of the meeting minutes unless someone else joins. I think what we can do though is talk about the main thing we call this meeting for, is to discuss what would be appropriate contract stipulations for our engineering contracts. I had sent out a list. I had a draft of 3 items, which I think could and should be better emphasized in the contract documents. I didn't get any additional comments back, but as we talk tonight, if someone has any additional suggestions, we can certainly entertain them. So the 3 items I'd sent out, we go through in order. I think there needs to be some language, contract language for commitment to schedule. We've been disappointed in some of the meeting some of the dates, and so we need to emphasize that. And as a subset to that, I had timely deliverables. So again, whether it's drawings, draft reports, cost estimates, RFPs, to me, it's a subset of commitment to schedule, but I think it's important enough that we can flesh out some language specific to contract deliverables or RFP deliverables. And then the third thing I had is at the end of various task orders, I think we should see about getting the live files for the CAD files, which are the computer-aided design. We would have them for future reference if we wanted to have a background. Again, depending on the software, not all software is compatible, but we would at least have the database that makes up the CAD files if we wanted to do some type of drawing. Maybe we get a little more granular about the mooring locations and start putting it on a CAD drawing, or that's just one example. So what we talked about at the last meeting was coming up with which contract stipulations need emphasis. And once we agree on that, then we would flesh out some draft language and we would run it through most likely Harry Turkanian, since he's going to be helping out on a variety of town activities, right, Joe?
Yes.
So that I think would still be the appropriate and desired path for getting this language in there. Does anybody have any comments either about the 3 items that have been proposed or any additional items?
Chris,
And one other thing, Will, I don't seem to have a copy of any contract documents. I think they take the RFP, they modify it if necessary, and then the town signs off on the RFP document. Is that your understanding?
You don't have anything from them, or?
Well, I have the, for example, I have the recent RFP,
Yeah.
but I don't have an executed one. So I don't know if those documents typically have more what I would call Ts and Cs, terms and conditions. I'd like to just get a copy of one so I can see what language is in there, and then we can craft our proposed draft language somewhat consistent with the document that will ultimately become the signed document.
Yeah, I think, well, if you want to stop by, Chris, tomorrow, I have some of their old ones, I think pretty readily I can copy for you.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. At least I know I have like the initial three of them right in.
Yeah, no, that a couple of them would be good to look at, and I would expect that the language and the makeup would be quite consistent.
I mean,
among the three documents, except for the task order. But if there's any T's and C's, they'd probably be similar. Yeah, no, that'd be good. I'd stop by probably maybe. Well, probably it'd be either late morning or early afternoon. I have a couple of things I have to juggle.
yeah, they're not thick. They never really come thick from them, but that's just sort of how they've always been.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm under the impression it's more of just a signed RFP than a lengthy contractual document.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a good reference.
Okay, so in parallel with that, we can develop some draft language for these three categories, unless anyone is opposed.
I think the scheduling is important to keep them on and have that in there.
Yeah.
That seems to be the holding point with everything is scheduling. It's easy to blame everything on the scheduling either way. So.
Well, it is so sequential.
Yeah.
That you miss one step along the way and it backs up, and suddenly we're up against the wall like we were in November. Joe, what are your thoughts on staying on course with this, where we'll go ahead and develop some draft language for Harry?
Yes, I think that'd be fine.
Okay.
And just a question, what would be the results if they went out, or the ramifications if they didn't uphold the contractor out? Is it going to be a monetary? Is it going to be something upon that line?
I don't think for these contracts I would recommend monetary. The awkward moment is we have tasks we have to do in timely fashion to support their efforts, and so if we don't make our dates, then their dates will slide if they're depending on us, for example, to issue them a contract or drawing review. I think what it will do, though, to answer your question, Kevin, is it will provide greater visibility within GEI's organization, including people beyond Dan. We could also implement a report card, which is a more formal way of saying, hey, you missed this, you missed this, you missed this. I don't think it lends itself to liquidated damages. Those are my thoughts.
But again, it becomes a situation of accountability. I mean, if they're running the job, and I mean, so the ramp is a prime example that, I mean, in my estimation, in my opinion, the ramp was the #1 area to be dredged. That was the target area to be dredged.
Are you talking about last fall for the piggyback?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And again, they went at it at a different situation, but for what they the minus amount that they didn't dredge, it would have seemed that it would have been better off over on the L pier in that area, Mosquito Dock, than it would have been, on the other end.
Yeah, if you're referring to the dredge work, though, you're actually talking Cashman, who did the piggyback.
I understand that, but weren't they overseeing it? Weren't the engineers overseeing it?
They were, to my knowledge, there was never any priorities given for that relatively small area. I may be mistaken, but I'm not aware of. And that's a good point for the future, especially for 2021. We should agree on what the priorities are, because we have the north access, we have the south access. Some of it is setting priority is somewhat restricted by the logistics of getting in. You know, you have to kind of dig your way in.
No, I totally get it. But again, the priority, in my opinion, and again, it's just my opinion, is the ramp. The ramp's
Yeah.
the big one. And that truly is the moneymaker for the harbor. So when now you're restricted, it means it's a lot better than it was. But can you get out at low tide, Will?
If it's a negative, no, then it's difficult on the ramp. From the docks though, from where we dock the boats, yes, I can get out at all times.
Right. But the ramp, you can't get in and out.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm sitting on the ramp, then we can, because we'll be on the end of it. But it's that mud on top of the ramp. But
Did they get into that
again,
new ramp lip?
I think, what's that?
Did they get into the ramp lip?
No, because what was said was that it was requires something different because it is all concrete all the way out to the last pilings. But I think that kind of thing and what you're talking about, Kevin, would help out if we never really saw the engineering company on site during the dredging. And I think, you know, if they're a project super or, you know, contracting the project like that, or they're, you know, they're in charge of it, basically, we're hiring them to be, they should be here a little more. That should probably be in the contract somehow, is a little more on site from them, you know. We're pretty good at reading and watching blueprints, but you know, they are the engineers, so, you know.
So I think especially for 2021, we should establish and emphasize what we see the priorities to be. Again, consistent with how they'll have to dig their way into the south access and then the north access. But yeah, we need to make everybody clear on that, particularly the dredger.
Yeah. And I think, you know, also when we're watching them and what they're doing, we're not exactly sure of what they're doing or how they're doing. They could tell you any type of story any way. But you know, the engineer that we hire should know exactly what they're doing and how they're doing it. And, you know, it's hard to relay the information to them and like, hey, you know, is this making sense? I mean, you know, then, you know, well, what are they doing? Show me on the plan, you know what I mean? It's not, if they're on site a little more, you know, we can hold them to, they're not, you know, they're not performing as well, not just numbers and you know, plans, but actual physically seeing it, I think would have been huge.
Do you all have like weekly meetings with the engineer when Cashman was digging?
No, not
Well, Chris, that may be something. Again, I can't attend, but if they just had like a staff meeting and just gave the goals for the week, oh, we're gonna go and do this area and then move along.
Yeah, you're talking weekly meetings with the person performing the dredge work as well as
The engineer. Oh,
Yeah.
who's the clerk of the works on that? That's the engineer, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So, I mean, all you basically have to talk to is him.
Yeah, my inclination though would be to have everyone in the same room so it doesn't lose it in the translation.
That's fine. No,
But yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, no, good point though. We can put that in the RFP and then of course implement that there be a weekly meeting on site when they're digging.
Yeah, no, I don't think they're gonna have COVID to really blame it on if we can all be outside right now, you know, so.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good point, Will.
All right, anything else? So we have a conundrum, you know, we usually do a motion to adjourn, but we don't have a quorum, so we can't pass the motion to adjourn.
I just think it was a good talk.
It was. One other question, though, should we resume what would normally have been our 2-week meeting, which would put us next week on the 17th? Or, no, it would put us on the 10th, wouldn't it?
Yes. We would have to because the contract's coming up, correct?
Yeah. So we're saying the next meeting would be May 10th at 7 p.m. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Anything else?
No.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah, thank you.